want to make a video here about some stuff I've been doing. I haven't made a lot of videos lately because I haven't been doing a lot of stuff, but this is one thing I have done. So this was an old mallet head that was in the shed, just in our shed, and so I wanted to restore it, right? And all there was just the mallet head, and it was quite rusty. It wasn't, so I cleaned it up. So the first thing I did was I took this mallet head, I cut off part of a water bottle. Right, so it's like you took a bottle, right, and other way. Right, so you took a bottle, and I just dunked the head in there, and then I put a mix, 50% water and 50% vinegar. And I left that there for about 16 hours. And then after the 16 hours, I was able to come back, and with a hose, I was able to blast off a lot of the rust. And then I came back in with a cup wheel on an angle grinder, and I ground off all the rest of the rust. And so all the rest of the rust came off, very nicely. There's no more rust on here, obviously, except maybe inside the eye. And then I made a handle for it. I'll get the whole thing into shot. And so I made this handle out of mahogany. And that's because usually a handle is made out of hickory, but I don't have any hickory lying around. It's generally expensive stuff, and I have a lot of mahogany lying around. So I decided I'll use the mahogany. So the handle, top to back, is about 13 inches. That's about 11, right? So you can see a little bit over a foot long, but you hold it right here. So the actual handle length, functional, is about 10 inches long. That's mahogany. I took 1.5 by 1.25 stock, and I made a handle, right? So obviously coming up from the bottom, tapers down into this area, so you can hold it, and then it's going to beef back up into this area, going into the head. Basically the same thing on this side, tapers down a little bit into this area where you hold it, and then it's going to beef back up into this area. So this is the Stanley 780 3-pound driving mallet, made in the USA. So it's still, it's still good quality, right? It's a little bit beat up, but I actually like that. So what I did first was I took this handle and I roughed out the shape of the handle. Then I fitted it. So I just roughed out this shape, so I had, that's going to be about what it looks like. And then I fit this. So the first thing I do to fit a handle, personally, is I'll take this eye, right, the shape of that eye, and I'm going to draw that on the back of the handle, right? So I draw the shape of the eye on the back of the handle. And then I'll take a file or a spoke shave, and I'll file down to that shape. And then I'm going to take that same shape, and I'm going to pull it out further in so I can get this whole 2-inch space. And then obviously you're going to tap that together, you're going to fit that, and then you're going to cut down with a saw. So originally I used a thinner kerf handsaw, but that wasn't thick enough, so I had to come back with a thicker kerf handsaw. And even then, when I pounded the handle in, that space on top of that kerf closed up. So what you end up having to do when that happens is don't just drive the piece of wood into another piece of wood, because you're not actually going to get into that cut you made. Once you put this handle about, a little bit halfway into the head, the kerf still should be open. You can tap the wedge into that kerf, and then put the handle on, and then tap the rest of the rest of the wedge into the kerf. So obviously we have the mahogany handle, and then I used a maple wedge, and that way there was a little bit of contrast, right? The maple wedge looks different than the mahogany. And then I put in one metal wedge. And the metal wedge, again, just, that's going to hold it in, right? So the wood wedge, and then a metal wedge across that, and that's going to hold that really solid. I have used it. There's no wiggle in it. It works very well. Again, it does take quite a bit of, strength to hold and use, because you're holding 3 pounds all the way out here. Oh, but it is a good mallet, and I do quite like it. The handle shape, I got this general shape off of this general shape, the kind of sweep. I took that off of the hammer I have over here, and then this, I just kind of went with the flow. It's still not perfectly circular. You can feel some of the, down here it's nice and circular, but you can feel some of the flat spots, but I do like that. It took me maybe 4 hours to finish out that wedge. Making that wooden wedge, you can take just a piece of wood like this, and I'd use a handsaw, and I cut down that line, and then I sanded that wedge on a piece of sandpaper. And so that's this hammer. Fully restored Stanley 780 3-pound driving mallet. In between that and some of the other stuff I did, here I'm going to take the out of a mountain. Some of the other stuff I did was I took another log and turned that into, it's dark over here, some more. So these are about 3 inches thick rough boards, and those came out of one log. I still have, I think, 2 other logs to work with, but those logs, they didn't split that well, so what I ended up doing was actually just turning those into firewood. The logs didn't split right, they just didn't end up looking good, so I didn't keep them around. God, what else did I... So, I also put a handle on a knife. That's relatively simple. I just put knife scales on. That's upstairs. I have to go grab that. You know, but that's otherwise it. I'm going to do another video on that knife, so I guess stick around. It should be up on the channel in a while. I'll do another video on that knife. But that's it for now. That is this mallet. I do quite like the shape. I think the handle looks good on there. So tell me what you think. And I'm going to get going.